for joining us for another great podcast on the Mama Thrive Talks. And today we have a special guest who's filling in for Mia Jones, and her name is Ebony McCray-Holme. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist. Ebony, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, first and foremost, tell us a little bit about yourself and the things that get you excited about life.
Well, a little bit about me is I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, as Jack mentioned, and I started my career out working in the homes of mothers with the Healthy Families program back in a long time ago in the early 2000s. So that pursued my interest in wanting to know more about how to help my community. So as I finished with my bachelor's degree at UNF with community health education, I went into the DCF world because even though Healthy Families was a prevention program, I wanted to go behind the scenes with DCF and kind of see what else can I do to help with the community families. So what hypes me is the fact that I love healing families. I love working with people in general and helping them understand themselves, each other, and how to better communicate, be better stewards within their family system, learning how to deal with certain behaviors. There's a lot of myth in the community about mental health, and sometimes, especially within the Black community, it's, just pray, go to God. Of course, I'm religion based as well, and I know that's what I was taught growing up is, you pray, you go to God, you don't talk to a therapist. So I wanted to be that somebody for our community, that it's okay to go and talk to someone else. It's okay to not just pray to God, because sometimes God will lead you to me to come and sit and just navigate the things about life that has created, turmoil in your life or even conflict. So that's what motivates me. That's what moved me, being able to sit in the chair and listen to people's stories and help them find their journey of healing.
Awesome. Yeah, and you said something there that really sparked me is there's a few things, the importance of faith, but also practical faith, right? Faith that also takes into consideration the mind well as the spirit, but also that you start out, working with DCF. And I know that usually when people are dealing with DCF, and when I was a young person, I was in some boys' homes and was basically in the system because of some of the family struggles that I was going through, my family was going through, and my behavior issues. So I got very familiar with like foster care and boys' homes, as I was also in a boys' home for several years. Do you work with families that are currently, struggling with some family issues where their child is in a DCF program, foster care, or boys or girls home, and if so, like, in what ways do you help them and work with them when they find themselves in trouble like that? Because it's painful, and you do feel penalized as a parent when your child gets taken away.
Yes, when I get my referral, sometimes it does, usually when they come to me, I find out when the families come, because they're referred by agencies or even doctor's offices, or they just find me on Psychology Today. And by the time they get to me, I find out that yes, DCF is involved, or they've been called and on their way out. And so I try to ease the mind of the parents that, there's no instructions with how to be a parent. And I try to ease their anxiety on the process, because I'm familiar with the DCF process. I understand the steps that they're taking and why they're taking them. And so I try to get the families to first kind of deal with some of the anxiety that comes along with that, because you're being judged by DCF. That's what it feels like, and who can you trust? Because I am a mandated reporter. But with my families, I make sure they understand that if there's anything that I have to report in this room, they're going to be with me on that journey. I'm not going to do anything behind their backs, because the biggest thing with DCF being such a stigma that it is, when they get involved and they make you feel inadequate, they make you feel like you're not able to overcome some of the family struggles. I try to be on their team. I'm on the family's team. We're going to do this together. I'm a part of your community, your village now. And I try to help them navigate the system themselves so they can better understand it's not about judgment. Sometimes we have to take that negative view and turn it to a positive view. And kind of get to the honesty. Did you need help? Is what I first asked. Did you need help with how to manage your child? And, usually some of them say yes. Unfortunately, it created the DCF call, but let's work on what we need to help this family, to mend the family, because the child is just a symptom of what's going on. Let's go back further, find out where all this started, and let's kind of dig into that. And usually I'm into the parents' lives and how some generational patterns and curses is what we call that kind of travels into their current life as parents themselves. And they're only going by what they know. So I try to ease that anxiety and kind of let them know they're not alone. I'm here. I have some respect in the DCF community. So there's sometimes some calls I can make if they give me permission to make those calls to help ease the whole transition. You're muted. I can't hear you, Jack.
Sorry about that. I see over 14 years of experience, and I can just imagine all the cases and families and individuals that you've worked with. And I see that you also went to Nova, which is very prestigious university here in South Florida. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me about some of the academic challenges that you and what that academic experience was like, including the challenges? Because I know for me, when I was in graduate school at Fuller Seminary in Pasadena, being Black and also being in a predominantly majority school. And I know Nova has a lot of foreign students from all across the world, but I'm sure still as Afro-Americans, you're the minority. What was that experience like, and how does that inform your practice with Agape, with Mama Thrive, and then also your private practice?
Well, for me, when I enrolled in Nova to get my master's program, my husband had just passed away. Wow. And so they knew, and they didn't think that I was going to be able to complete the program. They thought I was going to eventually drop out. I became a client myself, I guess, if that's how you want to look at it. But, I knew as a single mom again, because I became a single mom again, life had adjusted. I went through transitions. Now I went from parenting 2 children alone to 4 children alone. And no choice of my own, life happened, so it was definitely difficult. I had to tap into my villages. I had to gather up some of my family members and I had to commit to going outside the box. The program was, I had to give up 2 weekends a month from Friday to Sunday. I couldn't see my children because I was dedicated and committed to making sure that I got this degree. Because the reason why I pursued it, because one of my professors asked, I said, because I have the life skills to be a therapist. I have the life experience. I needed the credentials to go with it so people knew what I was talking about. Because in the Black community, being a Black woman, sometimes it's hard for me to say, I understand how you feel, or even, working for DCF, I had to participate in some of the hearings as an expert witness. And I didn't like being attacked by those attorneys. Like, what makes you feel like you're more qualified? I wanted to be qualified, so I had the experience to kind of combine my life with the degree. And I actually came out of that program with the highest score. People were shocked. The professors were shocked. And in fact, I inspired them. And in the mix of that, I started having, behavioral problems with my son, who actually was the last person with my husband when he died. So, I had to deal with behavioral issues from him. So when I go and work with my clients, when I worked with families in DCF, they weren't just talking to a person with a master's degree that read all the stuff in the books and know what to say and do and breathe techniques and things like that. They were talking to someone where life has also beat her up too. And I asked the client, I said, look at me, and what do you see? They assumed that I had it all together. I just know how to survive. And what I did was I got a degree to help go with what I was saying, because I know what I have in me. So, being that mom, being able to look like the community, being able to talk from a place that the community is talking from, like, you don't understand my struggle. Oh, I understand. But it's not about me. It's about helping you get to where I am now. If you think that I'm strong, if you see the strength in me, then I want to help you see that within yourself. And that was just always my motivation.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And for many years, I had a chance to, work within like local churches as a pastor and clergy. And I had, relationships with licensed therapists and life coaches and business coaches. And I saw that the church does struggle sometimes with over spiritualizing people's problems, especially like poverty or just parenting um, processes, parenting principles, communication, even marriage. Right, a lot of the people that were sitting in our pews were basically struggling, and a lot of holistic issues. And then I realized that spirituality is important. It's vital. I think it's probably the first foundation of good mental health, a good life, a joyful life. But some things are also natural, right? And some things are just practical. Some things are science and chemistry. When you talk about people having chemical issues. So I heard you allude to the fact that people can reach out to you, including people that are religious and non-religious. And it seems that there's an awakening about therapy, right? That people are starting to realize that getting therapy doesn't mean you have a shrink. That used to be the term in the 80s and
Right.
30s, and that meant that you were crazy. But we're realizing no, we need help, just like we need mechanics and we need plumbers, we need people that can guide us. And I think religious people, including the Black and Hispanic community that's very religious, whether you're Catholic or Baptist or you're evangelical, are realizing the importance of that. Are you seeing an awakening where people are coming to you from a faith background, and how do you integrate spirituality into your practice?
Actually, I'm glad you asked that question, because sometimes that is like 80% of the people that come, they're ashamed, because if they go tell their family that they're in therapy, they're going to get cast out, or they feel like they're going to get talked about because they're supposed to seek God and everything. And sometimes I'm finding that even in the expectations of the religion, it's creating a lot of stresses in their lives. They're expected to be a certain way because this is what I was taught in my religion, and when they don't feel like they're meeting that expectations, then they feel like they're failing. It's usually the word failure that I hear from people who have strong religion backgrounds. I see people as far as pastors, first ladies, just regular people in church, and like you said, non-religion folks come to me as well. So I get a variety. I call it my nation of people, and because there is a zone in my office of there's no judgment here. This is your journey. The journey does not mean that you're crazy. The journey means that life has beat me up and I need to be able to sit in a fair space and process my thoughts and decide what I can do that for me, what's best for me, not what someone told me, not the expectation of this, that, the religion, just what I want to do. And usually a lot of people, Christianity is one of the biggest things that we talk about. It's like, where's your faith? Some of them feel like they're failing God when they can't meet the expectation that their religion taught them, and so we talk about that. But again, I give it back to them because it's their journey. I don't sway anybody either way. It's wherever you feel peace within your life and whatever that peace is bringing you. Because if you prayed and you found me on Psychology Today, that's God talking to you, tell you to, go see my girl Ebony. She'll help you on your journey. And so I try to remove the word mental health and say this is a life journey, and you may find that you have some things mentally that you might have to seek some help on, higher than me, a doctor. But mental health does not necessarily mean that you're crazy. I try to take the myths and the stigmas away from the word. Mental health means that there's something going on in your life that's altering the way you're thinking. You're muted.
Sorry about that. I know that you work with Agape Family Health, and tell me a little bit about your experience there, and what that's like for you.
I listen to the stories when I'm on their advisory board, because I joined them from the advisory committee, and I sit in once a month, listening to all the progress that they've made with helping the moms have, connections to maternity health, doctor's appointments. And as I listen to that, I love the progress, because prenatal care is important. I think for us as people, what sometimes is missed is the mental health piece, because a lot of times it's easy for moms to go and seek prenatal. Well, it depends on how they think about it, but they can access prenatal care. But when you go to combine prenatal care and mental health, then there's like this stigma of, wait a minute, are you saying I'm not a good mom? So that's, as I listen on the advisory board committee and I see how they're handling the prenatal care piece, I would just, my thing is I come in from the mental health side of it, say, hey, you guys are doing an awesome job. Let's combine the mental health piece now. Let's talk about some of the moms that are coming in that, are worried and anxious about being a mom for the first time. And does not mean we have to say it's mental health. You're going to have pretty much like a life coach or a therapist to guide you along the way. So I like that they have the telehealth access. I watch them on Facebook. I'm always loving their ads on Facebook because I think when you start out in life, it's important to make sure the mom and the baby has a start that's healthy for mom and baby, because what we're finding is there is an increase in behavioral in children. And a lot of the kids now are either being diagnosed with autism more rampant than they were in the past, or some of the kids are on 504 and IEPs, and I have a background in infant and mental health, and I know where it starts in the womb. So that's why I'm excited about being a part of this, because it starts in the womb with whatever happens with that child when he or she enters the world.
That's great. That's great. And I know that Mama Thrive, which is a co-sponsored program with Agape, the Florida Department of Health, and several other prestigious health organizations in the state of Florida, is really making an impact. And it looks like it's a pilot program that may be expanded to other counties. And we're praying and hoping that the state of Florida really takes this issue of maternal death and some of the mortalities that's happening amongst moms and babies. What would you say to a mother that is pregnant for the first time, or maybe it's the second, third, fourth, fifth time, and they are concerned about not only their physical well-being, but their mental, emotional well-being. As I know, Mama Thrive is dealing with postpartum issues. What would be your advice to them from a marriage family therapy perspective?
I would first normalize it's okay to come and sit with someone like me and just talk about how you feel, because those are valid feelings. I want to validate your feelings, because if having the fear, having the anxiety of being a mom for the first, second, third, fourth time, because each child is different. Each child has different personalities. What you did with the first one, you're not going to be able to probably do with the second one, And so come and sit with me and let's talk about how you feel, because what you feel is real. That's nothing you're making up. That's valid. And, and I start out with that and just encourage them to create a village with someone that is a professional, because I explained to the Agape group that I become a part of the village. I'm not just a therapist. I remove the name of therapist, just like you. Hey, let's just have a conversation. And number one thing, I'm a mother too. I've been on that journey 4 times, so I try to normalize the emotions and sometimes helping them in the professional world, and letting them know it's okay to talk to somebody. It's okay to say out loud, I'm afraid, I fear failing is usually what I hear. I fear that my child is going to end up this way or that way. I hear all that. And we normalize the fears. We all fear that. Let's talk about how we can help not allow your fears interfere with your parenting abilities.
Okay, great. And if someone is looking for help and they need therapy, what's the best way to connect with you and get started?
So they can call my number. It's 904-423-4716. The beauty about my number is you can also text, because it's a confidential line. They can text, they can call, they can go on Psychology Today and find me there. And they have a link to me on that, website as well, where they can call immediately through the website and it rings me. So those are 3 different ways. And as soon as they call me, they're going to get a voicemail. Or not a voicemail, a message. And the message is going to say, like, leave your cell phone number, leave your email, because then I send you something. I send you a welcome. Thank you for, contacting me. And from there, I give them instructions on how to set up an appointment. So the first thing they have to do is just either dial the 904-423-4716 number or text it. Because some people don't like to talk in front of people. And that's fine. Just text me and I'll respond.
Okay, maybe we can get that number up on the screen I think it's 904-423-4716.
Yep, that's it.
And in your website, let me see here. It is Serenity Therapeutic Place, Therapeutic Place Client Secure. I
Yep.
believe that's what it is.
And they can click it, and it'll take them to my calendar, and they can just book from there.
Okay, perfect. And you can just type in her name also in Google, and she seems to be coming up really strong. Ebony McCray-Holme. And any last words for anyone who's listening right now, not only in the Jacksonville area, but throughout our nation and potentially in other parts of the world? They're listening to this. They see a beautiful, smart, brilliant human being, and also someone who's skilled in marriage and family therapy. What would you say to them? They're depressed. I mean, I was feeling depressed the other day. I mean, we all go through mild depression, right? The old schoolers used to call that sadness, right? Or just mourning. I had so much going on in my life. Man, maybe we need to have a live therapy session right now. But I just kept, trying to pray. And the thing is that when I woke up in the morning, I just really sensed God was saying, hey, get dressed and do your thing. Sometimes one of the best medicines for sadness is just keeping to your discipline, keeping to your structure. And I'm sure you counsel people in that way. And then suddenly I found myself kind of getting out of it, getting perspective on the problems I'm going through. And I know there's people listening and watching this right now that are hurting and they're going through depression. They really feel like I cannot make it another day. Or even if they do feel like they can make another day, it's just like they just want to hide in a cave aloof and just isolate themselves. What do you say to those people that are watching this?
Number one, I want to explain that everybody deals with sadness, depression. Everybody deals with emotions. Mental health does not mean that you're crazy. I'm not a shrink. It is okay to seek assistance. It's okay to call someone and say, hey, I just want to talk about what I feel, because what you feel is real. First, you got to validate yourself. You got to be honest with yourself with how you feel. Don't hide behind it. Reach out, talk to someone, and even if you go on Psychology Today, read everybody's profile. If you're looking for a therapist, find one that matches you, because I may not be good for everybody. Those that come to me find me off of what I explain on Psychology Today, and if all else fails, if you can't get a friend, or I always tell people to create a lifeline with someone that's not going to be judgmental. I ain't saying call everybody in the family. I'm saying find that one person that you can talk to, that listens, that can make you feel a little bit better until you can get to someone that has a more professional approach. And if you don't have that person, they have the new thing out now is 988. You can text it or call it, and there's someone available. And I know that, again, it's about who you get on the line and who you talk to, who you match up with, who you link up with. Don't just stop with one person. If one person you felt didn't hear you, or that one therapist you didn't, tie in, y'all didn't have a good vibe, find the one that has the right vibe for you. Don't give up. Christian counselors are out there, life coaches. All of us are out here to give each other the skill set. And it's not about, depression means you're crazy. Depression means something's wrong with you. Yes, something's wrong, but let's go on that journey to figure out what it is. Don't be afraid to walk the journey. It's a journey. And if you want to heal, you got to be willing to go on that journey. And it's okay to go on it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ebony. Looking forward to having another podcast discussion with you. And maybe even deep diving into different scenarios that you deal with, and that others can listen and glean from that are going through a similar situation. Thank you, and all those who are watching, please log on to mamathrive.org to learn more about the services, the free services that are being provided by Mama Thrive to help women. Minority women, Indigenous, Latin, African American, who basically need 24/7 monitoring, access 24/7 to a doctor or a nurse, and also a bunch of other services to help you through your pregnancy. And otherwise, thank you, Ebony, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you again. Bye.
Bye.